Hello everybody. I am going to do a couple tutorials today on how to make homemade witch hat forms, which is this one. And I also have a stocking one, which is this one. Hope you can see. And they're supposed to take the place of these, or if you can't get your hands on them. Also, this witch hat that I'm going to show you how to make, you'll be able to make these kinds of Santa hats, and these actually move. I'm going to do a tutorial on this one with the boa and whatnot. The first thing that you want to have is you want to have a tape measure, wire cutters. I'm going to put these two down on the ground for now. I use this kind of wire that I get at the local, I got this at Lowe's, or you can get it at Home Depot. It's just galvanized wire. This is, I believe, 18 gauge. I make spiral beaded things for outside. They're real pretty, and this is what I use because it's pretty bendable. You probably could use a gauge heavier for these forms. It's just easier with this wire. Now, when I first started making these, that witch hat or the Santa hat you saw, I did it all by hand. I would just pull the wire off of this, bend it to exactly like that witch hat. I traced a hat on just a garbage bag, and then I formed it around that. But instead of doing that, because now I have people who would like to purchase them, and I had to figure out a quicker way to do it, we've made jigs for them. So what we've made is this is one of them, and if you can see that, I've put a pattern of the witch hat, and then I put nails all the way around this, and more in certain bended areas than others, and I use this to make the witch's hat. They're still a little lengthy to make, but not nearly as long as doing it by hand. And here is the stocking one. If you can see that. Boy, I was complaining no light in the other tutorials, and this one I have lots of light. So this one it goes across and down, and there's the stocking part of it, and it comes back up and around. And so I'm going to show you how to do one of these with this stocking, and then I'll do the hat. The first thing that you want to do to make it easier, and I've got these measured out, is you want to take this wire. I'm going to set this here because I've already done it, and you want to straighten it out because it's very curly and it's really hard to work with, and you're going to be fighting your forms. So you just take this wire and you kind of bend it the opposite way of which way it's going. So see, I've already done that. So you want to take your wire and do that to approximately the length you need. The witch's hat, I've already traced it out on there, made the jig, and those pieces of wire need to be 57 inches long. And the stocking, you make your stocking however big or small you wanted. The first one I made was a little bit shorter than this one, but I want quite a bit of white up here. I'll probably do the boa up there or fake fur, and you could even put names hanging down. If you have a cricket or something, you could do that. I'll show you different ideas. These jigs are really neat because not only can you make the stockings, and you could make candy canes if you don't have access to the dollar store, or the witch's hat, but you can also make Christmas trees and stars, and you can make Christmas bulbs. You can make an initial to a name. You could do just about anything. I keep talking about making a chicken. I get a lot of requests for fresh Christmas wreaths, the horses, and last year I got a lot of requests for the chickens. And so what I will do to make that chicken form is draw out the chicken I want, put nails around it, make a jig for it, and then I will get my wire around it and then fill it with chicken wire. This morning I tried using the plastic garden fencing, and that doesn't work. The thing about using chicken wire is you'll probably want to wear gloves. I can't work with gloves when I'm doing this, so I just get my fingers poked. But I tried using this stuff and it didn't work, so that's a no-go. So we're going to use regular chicken wire, and I'll bring that up after we get this made. So I always start out my form on a straight area. So you could do it back here, you could do it on top. The first one I made, I believe I did these on top. So yeah, no, I did them on the side. So I started here and then went around and then came back to this, and you have to have extra length on both sides so you can wind them together, and then putting the chicken wire on it will stabilize it as well. So what we are going to start it, I'm actually going to start it upside down so we can see this better. So I'm going to start here, and I got to make sure this is the right length. I cut extra for both. Okay. Whoops. All right, so what you want to do is you want to start right here. I'm going to start my piece right here. Actually, I think I might. I haven't tried this on this table yet. So I'm going to start it right here. No, I'm going to flip it back around. Sorry about that. So I'm going to start it right here. I'm going to bring it to the middle. So my wire is starting right here, and I'm holding it on the outside. And you're going to have to, I'll show you what you do when you go around the corners, because you actually take it from the outside to the inside when you're going around certain corners. So I'm going to start my wire right about the middle of this top of the stocking, and I'm going to hold it down, and I'm going to pull it this way to bring it down. And that I can take my hand off up here now because it's bent. And then on this one, because if I can't round it on the outside, I got to take this to the inside. So you have this on the outside and this on the inside. So I'm going to take that around the inside, and then I'm going to bring it back around to the outside, because you have to have your wire guided at each corner, and so I need to bring it around the outside of the foot. So I'm going to bring it around. I'm going to pull it pretty tight, not too tight. My wire's kind of going back. I've got it to here, and I can kind of leave that. It's going to pop out like that, but that's all right. I'm going to take it. I did these on the floor. It was a lot easier if you do these on the floor. And I am going to bend it around. This one's pretty easy. The witch's hat's a little trickier. And when I come to the corner of the foot, I'm going to bend that in just a little bit like this. And then I'm going to bring it around here, and I'm going to bend it right there. Now I have these coming together, and you can see where this goes over. This piece goes way over. So I'm just going to take it like this off. I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to keep it right like that. And I'm going to take this piece of wire, and I'm going to wrap it around like that. I'm going to push this in to make sure it's where it needs to be. And it is. And then I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to wrap it around that way. There's a corner piece right here, so you could actually probably just cut that off right there. So that's going to stay pretty tight like that. Once you get your chicken wire on it, it's going to stay, and you can cut this little piece off right here. Now, what you want to do, because these are not going to come out perfectly flat, this one, if you can see, it's kind of going up. So you just take it and bend it. You're going to take it and bend it. I had to play around with this. If this is going up like this, then you want to bend your corners down, or this side down. You don't want to play with this because that's a part that's going up. So now I've gotten it down a little bit more. So if it's still going up here, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to bend it like that. And I've brought that pretty flat. And you can play around with that. These jigs make this part of the job really easy. If you try to do it without it, you can do it. You're just going to be messing with it a little bit longer. I get it pretty flat. Once that chicken wire gets on it, it's a lot easier to flatten it out. But that's pretty flat actually. So now I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to bring up the chicken wire. This is a pretty big piece of chicken wire. I have a lot of chickens, so I have a lot of chicken wire. So this I've already been cutting things out of. What I like to do, first of all, you want to do it on a light surface. I was doing it on the floor on beige carpet and I had a really hard time seeing. So I've already cut some out of this. Chicken wire, these forms are easier to do if you set this chicken wire going, let's see, how do I explain this? This chicken wire on a roll is going to go from this side to this side. These triangles are going to go like this. So I want to cut my form out. I want to do it where I am cutting the main bottom or top on these pieces that are in between there. If you get it, you're going to see they're almost twisted. It's easier that way. You can do it the other way. I put chicken wire on all of my candy canes because I do not like the ruffle method. I don't like the twist method. I like to push my material or my mesh or my ribbon up through these to get the same effect. So when I put this chicken wire on here, I cut a piece this big and I made sure these pieces right here were going this way. So I kept it straight. These particular ones, I'm going to do a little, actually the opposite. I'm going to have my pieces where I'm going to cut the bottom. They're going to be these pieces right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. That might make more sense. So what I do, the first thing I'm going to do though, is I'm going to cut off this extra stuff. If you see, I'm cutting straight across on these double pieces of wire. I'm going to go all the way across. So I'm going to show you a little bit closer if I can. You could actually do it this way too. It's easier for me to do it this way because if you're doing it this way, to get it straight across, you have to cut this one and this one and this one and this one. If I'm doing it this way, I cut straight across on these. That's my way. You'll find your own way to do it. So now I'm going to cut these across also because it'll just make it easier for me to show you how to do this. And these wire cutters are just small wire cutters. This is, if you go to the store and buy chicken wire, this is 1 inch. You don't want the 2 inch. It's too big. It's called 1 inch. It's just 1-inch chicken wire. So what I do is I lay this flat, and chicken wire does not like to lay flat, especially when it's in its rolls. I would suggest, if you're going to do a number of these, to take your roll of chicken wire outside, completely roll it out, and try to get it semi-flat outside on the ground, or you'll be fighting with it. Chicken wire has a main piece that goes down the middle to stabilize it, so I'm going to just put this right here. When I lay down this piece of wire, I wish it was colored, but it's not, down here, I know this is going to be my bottom, so I'm going to leave about this much here. So then I just start cutting around it, and I'm going to keep longer pieces like this, so I have something to wrap around the wire. I'm just going to take it around, and I'm going to get it as close as I can, but not too close, because I have to have pieces to wrap around my form. And I just keep it steady as I'm cutting it, and just keep moving my hand up. Sorry, I can't see. And I'm going to cut across like so. And then down here is the same thing. I'm just going to take it and follow it. It's about 1 inch out, something like that, and keep going around. And you'll be doing some cutting also while you're putting it together. After you do a couple of these, they go pretty fast. It's just tucking the wire in that probably takes the most time and hurts your hands. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna see where it's stuck, and I'm gonna get this off the table. So now I have this piece. Actually, I think maybe if I take this off, I'll be able to see it better. Maybe. Probably what I should have done. So here's my piece of wire. So I've cut chicken wire. I've cut it like so. So now I'm just going to take this piece of wire, and what I do, just so I can keep things steady, and I flip them over like this. There's one flipped, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to flip this over here, and then I'm going to come up here and flip this one. I'm going to come up to the top and flip a couple up at the top. And then you can see how you can get it crooked pretty easily. I'm going to flip these on the side, a couple of them. That way I can just, can keep this thing stable. So now if I look at this, I've cut these too long, so I'm going to go back over and I'm going to cut this off. These are the pieces I like to have like that, so I can have something to wrap around, so I'm going to do that. It's kind of tricky because you don't want them too short, but you don't want them too long around the side, because when you're trying to get your mesh through, or your ribbon, I don't use mesh. A couple of things I have, but I don't normally use mesh. Your wires will keep it from going through. It makes it kind of hard. So here again is too long, so now you have to do a little bit of trimming before you actually start wrapping it around. So that's about where I want to come around. This corner one needs trimmed. So I'm going to do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around to all of these, and I'm just going to flip these in like so. easier if you do it when it's sitting. So I'm going to flip them in like that. Some people won't want to mess with this because it does get kind of, makes your fingers hurt. But actually, after you do a few of them, it's not so bad. So I'm just going to go around like so, get all those in like that. I've got almost all of them in now. So now what I do is, you can leave it like this. I don't recommend it because your mesh is gonna catch. So I take this piece and I wrap it back around, and then I make them all go one direction. So if I get these little pieces of wire going that way, they're not gonna snag my mesh. And there we go again. And I'm just gonna go around and make them go that way. So I kind of bring them back under like that, and I'm heading them all in the same direction. Okay, so that, and just take your hands and feel, where it's a little bit pokey. When you get down to these corners, because it's going to be hard to stick mesh through there, I would go ahead and trim those up just a little bit more. These are, once they're like this, they're not going to fall apart. And I thought, actually I tried putting duct tape around the side, which was a flop. That didn't work. By the time you get your mesh in, it doesn't matter anyway. So there you go. That is how you make these. And I'm going to show you for the witch's hat, if you choose to make one of those jigs. So that one's ready to go. And you can, what's nice is it's pliable, so once you're putting your mesh in it, you can mess around with it. So that one is done. So when you're making this particular witch's hat, there's a lot of in and out down at the bottom that you have to do. So I'm going to start this on the side. I'm going to start it right here. You can see, and then I'm going to take it around, and on up here where this goes over like this, I've got to take this wire back behind again, back behind there. You can see that. So I'm taking my wire, it's running on the outside here, and I'm going to take it on the inside around here to bend it, and then I've got to take it back out on the outside to make the tip of the hat. And then I'm going to bring it around here, and I'm going to take it down. I'm going to take it down here. I'm going to kind of bend it a little bit. So again, I'm on the outside until I hit these corners, and then I'm going to flip it over to the inside, and then going around that corner, I'm going to flip it back to the outside so that I can go around this corner. So now I'm taking it around this corner, and I'll bring it down here, and I'm going to go around here, and then on the inside, once again, I'm going to take it on the inside, go around like this, and go back out to the outside. And I've come to the end right here. Hang on to these together, and then kind of pull this off. This one's a little more tricky to straighten up. It's not bad, but it's a little more tricky. So I'm holding on to this, and again, I'm just going to take this and wrap it around the hat or the side of the hat like that, and then I'm going to take it this side, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go like that. And if you're doing these by hand, you want to do exactly the same thing. So now if you look at that, it's kind of wonky. So I'm going to first start at the bottom, and I'm going to bend that down like that. So I'm getting it a little bit more, but I can look and see that this bottom part needs to come up. And I can see now this needs to come up. So I've got that pretty flat now. Now I have to work with this. And so I'm going to take it and it's the bottom again that needs flattening out. This one's just a little more tricky, so I'm going to bend this up. There we go. There we go. So bend that up just a little bit. Bend this down, and it's flat. And there you go. There's your witch's hat. And then you can put your chicken wire on this as well. You just do exactly the same thing. And there you have it. That is how you make the wire forms.